This generation under so much pressure, held to a standard impossible to measure. Without guidance, they suffer. No father in sight, no love from their mother. Not the fin for the one in the mirror. Self-image distorted, can't get no clearer. Damn, lost souls devoured by the streets. Ain't no fairy tales or yellow bricks by their feet. Only crack vials and shell casings. Looking for hope, but they still waiting. And I implore you to never give up. And like Pac said, keep your head up, and when your back's up against the wall, keep your boots to the ground and stand tall. Hold on and be strong and go against all odds, and keep your faith in God.
And welcome back to another episode of the Liberated Mind Show. This is episode 13, lucky number 13, and we'll be covering a couple different topics today surrounding the C Murder and Master P feud, public feud, and also the latest of what's going on in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I am Kay. This is James.
All right, so let's jump right into that first topic, that beef between Master P and C Murder. It's essentially the evolution of self and, how it can result in outgrowing friends and family. So let's jump into that. So how do you define evolution of self, and why is it important to evolve at some point in life?
I would define evolution of self as a means of basically maturing and understanding before taking action. And what I mean by that is, I think when we're younger, we just run off a lot of impulse. We don't sit back and assess what's going on. So that's basically why we make a lot of, we might trip up a few times before we actually understand exactly how to approach things. And that's in regards to most things in life, not just necessarily, it could be in sports, it could be in academics, it could just be in a daily, just life, just in general, just like things you learn in life. I think it's important to move forward because, evolve is the word you use. I think it's important to evolve because as we get older, our views change, mainly for the better, I believe, because you may see some things you may have been closed-minded on once upon a time, but as time goes on, you can sit back and say, you know what, maybe it's not as important as I once put it, and you know how to, I guess, what's the best way of putting it? I can't think of the best way to word it, but you no longer make that priority to say, hey, I don't like this because blah, 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 blah. You can now see both sides where, okay, I can see this and I can take this point from it and I can live with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be my way or the highway. And I think judgment gets clouded because when we're younger, before we start evolving, it's like, all right, if this person doesn't agree with me or doesn't necessarily see things my way, they may not have to agree with me, but they don't have the same perspective as me, I can't rock with them. But at the same time, I feel as though, as time goes on and we evolve, it's like, okay, I understand that there's more than one way things can be done, and there's different perspectives. And I understand how you came from that perspective, how you came to that perspective, but I may not agree, but I understand how you got to that point. So, yeah, that's my take on that.
Definitely. I definitely agree with everything you said. Sometimes evolution can be viewed as a negative thing by friends and family. So when that happens, do you think that's fueled by jealousy or just a lack of understanding of that person's growth?
It may be both. And the reason I say it may be both is because some people are stagnant in life. And like Nipsey say, there's a marathon. So in that marathon, you have those people that, yeah, when we're kids, they may be ambition. They may have that ambition, but it may only go but so far. And they may peak out at high school, and they may say, I'm content. This is all I want in life. I'm comfortable. But you want to, continue to grow. Therefore, you grow, you learn, get wiser, and you may move out of that comfort zone of that person to the point where you're like, hey, I'm no longer into that type of lifestyle, or I'm no longer, I no longer do things like that anymore. And some people may look at it as you turning your back on. Like in this case with C Murder and P, I think that's exactly what happened. They were both raised up in the Calio in Louisiana, New Orleans. So, they had that mentality of, hustle and do what you need to for survival. Mm-hmm. But once P always had that hustler mentality, but it then evolved into a business mentality. And so he no longer felt the need that he needed to stay put in the projects per se. So he's like, you know what, I can still visit the projects when I need to, but I don't have to live here. The project should be a place you want to grow and leave. It shouldn't be a place where you say, you know what, I'm comfortable. This is it. This is my life. Mm-hmm. It's like to assist you for those times, when you don't have your shit together. So he was able to make a livelihood in order to get out of there. But sometimes we have loyalty to the wrong things. And I don't want to necessarily say, hey, I'm better than you because A, B, and C. But at the same time, okay, this is what I want in life. This isn't what I want in life. And I think that's what happened with P and C. It was like, all right, Master P got to the point where he was like, you know what? I'm a businessman. I'm no longer about that. I'm also getting up there in age. I think he's 50, 52 now. Mm-hmm. And C Murder is 49 or 50. So it's like, all right, C Murder made his choice to stay behind. He showed loyalty to the streets and not to his family. He may have believed he was showing loyalty to his family by, hey, staying in that position, which, he was born into, but it was a disservice because he wasn't there to raise his girls at the end of the day. So you were more loyal to your friends than your family. And are they truly your friends if they put you in a predicament to get you separated from your offspring? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I feel as though it depends. Some people say, hey, it's you outgrow people. They say some people are here for reasons and some for seasons. And that's true. It wasn't until I was older that I understood that. I've had some friends where we were real close friends, and I was like, all right. But then they just started, you didn't see any growth and maturity in them. And they were just like, okay, this is what I'm about. And like, okay, I know that's no longer what I want in life. It was cool when I was 20, 22. Mm-hmm. But now somebody in the, mid to late 30s is like, nah, I'm in a different mindset now. So,
yeah. No, I definitely agree with what you said. And I've experienced the same thing. Like, you have friends that you was like real tight with growing up. And then it's like you veer off because you realize like that path and that same old stuff that you was doing 15, 20 years ago ain't what it is now. Like, that's not for you. Like, some people get to face that mirror at a younger age. And some people never get to face the mirror where they get to see their reflection and see what's really going on and see who they are. See all their issues and everything. Have everything laid out for you. Some people, don't have that luxury to see that. So they never think what they're doing is wrong or anything. So they don't see a reason to evolve or grow. So then, because they don't see that, when you do see that and you decide to change and grow and, you know, change lanes or whatever, they see a issue with that because they like, yo, this is me. Like this is life. Like I don't understand why you don't get it. And then you over here wondering like, I don't see why you don't get what I see. Why you don't have that clarity that I have. Like you still walk like, and it's crazy because in life you don't want to outgrow people, especially like close friends or family. But you sometimes you have to in order to move forward, because if you got people that y'all not vibrating on the same wavelength and things like that, they pulling down your frequency, and you can't never move ahead. You're not gonna be able to reach your goals or anything as long as you stay connected to these people. And you won't still love them, but you just can't bang with them like that. Like you can't be like, you know, rolling together and always together, because that will pull you down. You won't be able to, you know, reach your fullest potential because you stand in this negativity, and you need to rise above that.
Mm-hmm.
So evolution, everyone has to go through that. Even if you try to fight it and deny it, you have to look in the mirror one day and look at your flaws and everything and accept it and realize what you need to change.
Well, stuff. And yeah, to piggyback off that, it's like you said, people can pull you down to their level. Meaning, if your aspiration is, hey, I want to go to college and from there, I want to find a lucrative job. But your people's is like, what you need to do that? And they into some stuff that ain't necessarily legal, but it's getting them by. They're thinking of the here and now. And like I said, it's easy to get caught up. Someone pull you down, and then you lose sight. So you have to, there comes a point to where you got to say, hey, do I love myself more, or is it I have more love for other people that may not even be there 5 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's one thing. That's part of evolving too. It's just to say, hey, you know what? I gotta love me, because I think most of the time we may be too busy trying to satisfy other people, so to speak. It's just like, hey, oh man, you know what? I can't do that to this person. And you're doing something that you may not necessarily be feeling, but it's never reciprocated. There's been situations like that within my life, I know, where I go out of my way thinking, hey, I know when the time comes around, at least I know they'll remember this and they'll go that extra mile for me. But it's not, because everyone doesn't think like you. And that's also another lesson that you learn later in life. Like, what you do isn't what somebody else will necessarily do.
Yeah.
And if you once you learn that, you'll be able to keep striving and go forward. So yeah.
Definitely. All right, so we're gonna move forward into some frustrating situations that are going on in this country. It's nothing new. It's just draining at the end of the day. Let's jump into the two justice systems that we got. You know, where we see somebody black and unarmed get shot 7 times in the back, and then we see somebody white and armed kill 2 people and injure another person, and they get to leave the state. Like, what's your take on that, Kay?
Yeah, it's like you said, it's draining. I feel as though every few weeks we're in this same position, and like you said, the PTSD associated with it, I'm sure it affects people in different ways. But like I said, this one is just, I don't know, this one, I know it may sound repetitive too, but because we've said, yo, this one's different. This one feels different. Or we'll be like, what will it take? This is the one. This is what it'll take. This is it. Everyone can clearly see this. And it's like a never-ending cycle. It's the same cycle, same situations where lethal force isn't necessarily necessary in a situation with an unarmed person, but it's used anyway. In this case, I use the word lethal because it was lethal. 7 shots in somebody's back. It's only by miracle the person did not die. And not to mention his children were there. His children were in that van. And that whichever officer it was, because I'm not even sure if they even released the officer's name by now. They're allowing him to hide, or like I said, they said to even clean up his social media, because we know a lot of crap's out there in social media too. But for the mere fact that this officer felt it was justified in shooting somebody in the back in front of their children 7 times, that's to kill. Because who's to say, yeah, some people might say, oh, it may take more than one shot. All right, what happened to 1 or 2? At max 3, 7. So you wanted to end the person's life over a thought of maybe there's a weapon. No proof necessarily, but just the thought of it. Meanwhile, in the same city, the same police force, video of somebody with a weapon, and also his Snapchats and interviews, him saying, oh, I came out here from Illinois to reinforce the law. I'm here to protect the property. Not his property, just random property. Somebody could make a case for him and say, hey, that's his property he stood up for. So he had every right to defend it. But this isn't his property. He probably couldn't even tell you the owner of whatever he was defending, as he put it. Actually, he said it was his job. I don't know if you've seen that. He said, yeah, my job is to blah, blah, blah. So he's walking around with this. And like I said, he's walking around with this rifle for intimidation. It was an AR-15 or something?
Yeah, I think so. And he had a nerve to have on gloves.
Yeah, what was that about? He knows somebody's going to be bleeding. So he was just like, you know what? I'm gonna leave my house in Illinois. He can't even. His mama had to drive him.
Yeah, and that's even worse. His mom like coerced him on, like, yeah, let's go do it. I'm proud of you, like
accountable. So yeah, so we have an unarmed person, and you have this armed person murders people. Everyone's saying that's the shooter. That's the shooter. As he waves down the police, listen, he waves down the police with a weapon in sight. Walks down to the police. Police don't even bat an eye. They don't even say put the weapon down. Nothing. So
they just let him go.
It's like a scene out of the Twilight Zone, man. It's like, wait a minute. Why? It's the obvious answer. You and I know. The viewers know. But it's like, why is this guy not perceived as a threat? If you put yourself in a situation, you then can't claim for it to be self-defense. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, because he came out there on a mission.
That was his mission.
He knew going out there that he was going to shoot somebody.
Yep, that's crazy. It's no, like I said, it's no different than me going to a Klan rally with a gun, talking about, I'm here just to make sure that these people don't get out of hand. And then I'm put myself in a situation to where I'm going to use that weapon. That's premeditated, because I already knew, okay, I'm going to, that's with the Klan. Guess what? Somebody going to die. It's premeditated.
Only difference is that you would get stopped before you even get there.
Oh yeah, yep, I would. That'd be lucky. I'd be lucky if I get stopped, because the police would see the weapon and that's it. Yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, the same open carry, and it's just like I said. is sad. And one thing about it is I heard that kid, I guess I should refer to him as a kid, even though it's an adult act he did, but he obtained the guns illegally because he's not of age to have a gun permit.
Mm-hmm.
And like we said, his mom drove him. So did she coerce him? Should she be held accountable?
Definitely, I think so. Because from the posts that I was seeing that they put up, they like all about that Blue Lives Matter crap, and I'm like, first of all, people that use Blue Lives Matter, I'm like, there's no blue people.
Mm-hmm.
So that Blue Lives Matter shit is stupid. Like they even say some shit like that just because you don't like Black Lives Matter because it says black. That's what it boils down to. So you come back and say Blue Lives Matter, and nobody out here is blue. All the cops don't even wear blue.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. So like, what are you? You're really just saying that you're anti-black to the point that you'll say anything else matters besides Black lives.
Mm-hmm. Bottom line, all lives, and like we know, all these slogans were just used to counteract Black lives because none of them existed prior to you hearing Black Lives Matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like it's to mute the black part, like you said. Bottom line.
It's crazy. And then you got people like Tucker Carlson justifying this. I'm not even gonna call him a kid. This thug's actions out there. What did he say? He said, "What do you expect? The looting. You didn't think that the looting was going to evolve to get somebody getting killed? Like justifying this thug's act, like murdering two people and shooting somebody else, and the third person that got injured, they got their arm amputated now. So like, you as somebody I'm about to say he's a media personality, but I don't even, Fox News isn't really media. It's just all opinion based. But him being in that position on TV to say something irresponsible like that, there's no way that he should still be on TV after today. Like, it's no in the world how it should be, he shouldn't be on TV no more.
Right.
But because he said what he said about this despicable person who's going to be held as a hero by that side, there's nothing going to happen to him.
No, and you know, a thought that just passed my mind was look at what Trump did for Roger Stone. So if something does, it won't even get to the point to where he's in prison because a trial ain't going to occur that fast. Because even if he loses the election, he can say, "Hey, let's commute this guy," and that's it.
Yeah.
Because like you said, they're hailing him a hero. The right is, and then people say, "Oh, well, it's the extreme right." Listen, it's the right. It's the right. So, what is it that you see as heroic in this? Because, like it's been said, if this were a black person that did this, they'd say this is how Black Lives Matter behaves. This is what they do. See, they go out there and they kill people. We've heard that. We've heard it. But since this guy, they want to say he is a lone wolf. They won't say any association it is. And then they'll say, well, he's actually a patriot because he went out there to defend property. Once again, property is not more valuable than human life. I don't care what way you put it. It is not. And at the end of the day, we have courts. So if we have courtrooms, we have jails. What's the purpose of them if people are just going to be murdered on the street when it comes to us? But when it comes to them, they're afforded that. And saying, hey, you know what? This is the process. So we have to go through this process before punishing. So now we're going to presume him to be not guilty, as the law says, when clearly this man went out there to kill people. or this, like you said, this thug, because it's a textbook thug.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line.
But like they use that word patriot like it's some kind of great thing. But what is a patriot really? A patriot, according to them, is somebody that lives by the principles of America and that, believes wholeheartedly in the flag. So you believe in a corrupt, unjust country and you follow a symbol of that country. So does being a patriot really make you a hero?
In America, because I think if it's somebody out in the Middle East, they're an insurgent.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they definitely switch that up.
Yep.
Because you gotta think about it. An insurgent and a patriot, the same thing. They just from two different countries. Or not two different countries, but two different regions.
It is, and we know it's a certain type of person that is considered patriotic, because what I consider patriotic, what's his name, Tucker Carlson?
Mm-hmm.
He'd say, "Oh, that's not patriotic. That's destruction of property." And what I have in mind is, I believe it was in South Carolina a couple years ago, where that sister climbed that flagpole and ripped down that Confederate flag.
Yeah, that was patriotic.
That was patriotic. First of all, that's not even a U.S. flag. Yeah. And it was waving. So she took it down.
Mm-hmm.
That's an act of patriotism. But no, they want to say it's an act of vandalism. But murder. But you know what? That's how the country was founded on. The people that they found here, they deemed to be the enemy and savages, and wiping them out was an act of patriotism.
Ain't that crazy though? That you call somebody savages that greet you with hospitality and respect. Where does the savagery come in? Doesn't the savagery come in when you began to act like a savage and murder people? So it's funny. It's funny how definitions can change.
It's all about that man in the mirror. And it seems like these types of people never had a mirror, because what you want to sit up and portray the victim as, you are actually that. It's a distractor. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple.
Definitely. That's like that. The mayor or the sheriff, whoever it was, they blamed the curfew because people weren't, following the curfew. That's why they were killed. Right.
Mm-hmm. Imagine that. So, because of the curfew, you violated curfew, you deserve to die.
Yeah,
that's just like the woman that's dressed in a loose matter deserves to be raped.
Exactly.
That's the equivalent.
And that's going back to Jacob Blake. If you know that, like, cops, they're supposed to uphold the law, but even if somebody's guilty, they're not supposed to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just not supposed to. Even if the death penalty is in places where the death penalty is still around, they're supposed to be arrested, given a fair trial, and then if it's determined that they get the death penalty, the state does that. Police are not supposed to kill people just because they're guilty.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. What's that? That's Judge Dredd.
Yep.
That's exactly what it's turning into.
Yep. Judge, jury, and executioner.
Mm-hmm. This is the type of power, and I think that's what's going behind defund the police. It's like, you know what, you guys are giving these. It's a job title. You're giving them too much power. So Going back to the whole Blue Lives Matter, guess what? These people, when they're off, are they still considered blue lives when they take off their uniform? No, because at that point, guess what? They whatever ethnic group or race they are, that's what they are. Because without that, we've seen it plenty of times where police officers who are black aren't in uniform, and they're pulled over and treated just like how any other black man would. It's not until they disclose, hey, I'm this, I'm that. I don't know if you got to see that video. It was out like earlier this year with that FBI, that black brother.
Yeah, I saw that.
FBI. And these police came there. I think he was outside at a restaurant.
Yeah, it was like
And they came
a
there,
outdoor restaurant.
right. And they came there harassing him and telling him this and that. This is what, who are you? Show me ID. Then they proceeded to put cuffs on him. And he's like, you know what? Watch this. He told his friends, watch this. He never disclosed that he was an FBI agent. He let it get to the point where they took his wallet out to look at his ID, and they saw that. And he's like, yeah, you're real dumbasses now. And they immediately took those cuffs off him, and they just had that egg on their face. They couldn't say shit.
Yeah, that was one of the best videos I've ever seen. I was like, yo, they look so stupid after that. And they, like you said, they took the cuffs off of him so fast, like with the quickness. And he just sat there saying stuff, and they couldn't say nothing back because they were stupid. Like they literally thought, oh, this is another black guy that we're gonna take to jail. And then they find out that he actually is above all of y'all. So
he got that rank. Yep.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was a beautiful video. That was like a jewel.
Yes, it was. That was a beautiful thing to witness. And it's like this. It's like I brought that up to say Black Lives Matter, meaning they looked at him as a black man. It wasn't until they saw what job he had that he was treated as a blue life per se. So it's a blue job. It's not a life.
Exactly.
Because they could have taken that brother's life. You know what I mean? Before they even checked his ID. Because if he would have given them any excuse, if he might have sneezed, they would have been like, well, I fear for my life. Bang, bang. Then they would have had to sit up there and try and do some character assassination. He stole some bubble gum out the corner store at age 7 to justify something 30 years later.
Exactly. You know what's crazy though? It's like essentially being black and breathing is a crime. Because no matter what you do, it's a problem. I think it was a video I saw that somebody shared yesterday. The cops surrounded this guy because he had too many credit cards.
What does that even mean? But okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they always finding a reason. So essentially, it comes down to the fact that you're here alive and breathing. So we don't want you here no more. So we're gonna find a reason to take you out, to push your buttons and get you hostile.
Exactly.
And it's sickening, man. It's like we're being hunted, and then people that don't care to understand, they just like brush it off like it's nothing major, or they say, "What about Chicago?" And what about black on black crime? But as we said on previous shows, 85% of white people that's murdered or that a crime is committed against is done by other white people. So it's about the same rate. It's actually more. It's happening to white people more than the so-called black on black crime, which is a myth. It's about proximity. Because they have a larger population, their white on white crime happens way more
frequently. Yep.
Yeah. So don't say black on black crime until you start addressing everything else by race. If you're gonna do black on black crime, you gotta say white on white crime, because that's the largest sector of crime in this country.
That's a fact. And like I said, one thing I've noticed, especially on social media, where people will say, this is just the government trying to divide us. It's not a race thing. This is a us versus them thing. But the whole foundation of this country was founded on discrimination and hate towards Africans. Bottom line, it's written in the Constitution. Yeah, you can amend it, but at the end of the day, it was still there in writing, the foundations of this country. So for people to sit up there and always want to disregard and say, that's that race card people are throwing out, race always plays a factor. I don't care what anyone says, it always plays a factor.
Always.
And until we can, and by we, I mean this country, we can admit, hey, you know what? It's not far-fetched. Desegregation only happened 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
These people that were part of that are mothers and grandmothers today, grandfathers, uncles, aunts. So for you to make it sound like it happened oh so long ago, that it plays no part today is bullshit. And I think it's just used to mute people. It's used to mute us anytime we bring up the obvious throughout a situation. And I think that is exactly why there's no progression within the country and why these type of occurrences keep reoccurring. It's because we don't want to admit there's a systemic race issue here.
Exactly.
Even to the point, you've seen that article on, even in real estate. Real estate, when selling a house, I've heard it before, that, hey, if you're an African American trying to sell your house, you have to hide all traces of African American evidence, whether it be a picture, a family portrait, art, whatever. You have to hide it because your appraisal rate will drop if they find any traces that this house is owned by a black person.
Mm-hmm.
That's how crazy it is. But yet people say, like Nikki Haley, in my opinion, Nikki Haley, governor of South Carolina, she has no say in the black plight. And by that, I mean, for her to sit up and try to compare the East Indian experience to that of the African in the U.S., the East Indian who came here freely, who migrated here freely, and you say, oh, because of the different culture, they're accepted more. They can assimilate more. Mm-hmm. And let's face it, if they do marry outside of their ethnic group, it's to whites. It's never, or it's rarely, let me not say never, it's rarely to Africans. And that's just how it goes. So for her to say, hey, this country is no longer racist, or this isn't a racist country because both my parents came here and they were able to do it, it's bullshit. Yeah. Trevor Noah said something very interesting when it came to that, where we always had these exceptions, and then the Republicans, the conservatives always want to paint the exceptions as proof that this country has progressed. And Trevor Noah said, I'm going to paraphrase it, but he pretty much said, that's like an airplane crashing and you being the sole survivor saying, well, I survived. These other people should have survived. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm the exception.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
You can't sit up there and just point to the exception and say, see, it is possible anybody can survive. He survived. Therefore, you should be able to make it too.
Exactly. That's nonsensical.
And that's what occurs all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
First of all, the East Indian experience here is completely different because when they come here and they gain citizenship, they check off Caucasian. Like,
how about that?
So that gives them a leg up already because they identify with Caucasian because they know the benefits of being Caucasian in this country. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they do benefit from it because they're able to get businesses going and everything. Things that we, as Africans here in America, we don't have the benefit. We don't have there's no real program set up for us. They say they set up programs for us, but it don't really come to us. Some way it finds its way to, some company or somebody that's supposed to be a representative for us, but it don't never trickle down to us for us to be able to start those kind of businesses and be able to just, come from nothing and get to something. So it's like you can't compare nobody else's experience to what we go through or what we've been through or what our ancestors went through. You just can't. There's nobody's experience can compare. It's nothing that can happen. Like, not saying that nobody else didn't struggle or didn't go through their trials and tribulations, but it's not the same.
Right.
This is not a game of, let's match tragedies. No, you can't match tragedies with the African experience. Like, you just can't. And it's like, and not to dwell on that because, before the tragedy, we were, great warriors and royalty and stuff like that. But that was all tarnished because of the struggle, and it still continues. Because of that, the 400 years is trickled down from that. And we're feeling it to this day. I don't care who's in denial of it, who's saying that this country is no longer racist, because that's bullshit. Because you got to think about it. When somebody say, oh, you playing a race card, if me and you walk into a room full of white people, what's the first thing they're going to see? They're not going to be like, oh, that's Kay. Oh, that's James. No, they're going to be like, oh, that's a black guy. So how doesn't race play a part in everything if the first thing that we perceive is based on what we see? And if you see somebody, you see them, you see their race. You can't hide it.
Nope.
You just can't. You can't hide who you are. Like what we are. You can't hide it. This is what it is, and our experience is what it is. So what other card are we gonna play besides that? What like we're card carrying members. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we can just, like it's Caucasian people that may not actually be fully benefiting from their privilege, but it's still there. Like, they still benefit from it, whether they want to, say they do or not. There's certain things that they can get away with that I could never get away with. So, like, yeah, if when you say the race card, yeah, because that's the only membership that we can have right now. Because everywhere else we get blocked.
Yeah,
we get denied.
Like you said, that's what they see. When you say the card carrying member, I chuckle just because it's like, you don't even need the card. Like you said, it's the minute you walk in. It's not, Nikki Haley can pass for white. I think even traces of her name, that's not a Indian name.
No, not at all.
So it's like you can hide your identity, Flip. I'll put it like this. I hope it's not taken the wrong way, but we can't hide being black. It's obvious. But if we go back to Nazi Germany, how did a person know a person was European Jew? They had to have numbers tattooed on them.
Yeah, that's the only way they could tell.
Yeah. Plain and simple. So you would have to get to that point to where I had to pull up my sleeve or whatever. But other than that, the chances of you knowing what I am ethnically, racially, when I walk into a room, me is without a shadow of a doubt. But during Nazi Germany, it's like these people could walk in and they could survive just as long as they kept that hidden. So it's a totally, like you said, it's unique. The U.S. is unique and the way they dealt with stuff. Because even I'm trying to think of what other country had enslaved people that they eventually freed and lived amongst them. You see what I'm saying? It's unheard of, because most people, if they were freed, they'd have some place to go back to.
Exactly.
Where it wasn't the case. And they said, you know what, whatever, we have to deal with this. There's nothing, we can't say return, because we can't bring them there, and we don't know which country they came from.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you had to make up a whole set of laws. You had to make up a slave patrol, which then evolved into police. Then you had to have you had the Emancipation Proclamation, which then graduated into Jim Crow laws. So you have all of these fundamental systemic racist values in this system, in this country, that just changed names. They camouflage, but it's still there to keep us in check. Mm-hmm. But then you want to say it doesn't exist because the most obvious of us being in chains, in physical chains, is no longer there. Who are you deceiving?
Exactly. Yeah. That's all you can do really is just is kind of laugh about it, because it's like it's so clear what it is. Mm-hmm. But it's still people walking around. There's still people walking around with like blinders. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm like, yo, everything is clear.
Yep.
If you just, just focus, just look, open your eyes, take the blinders off, pay attention to what it is.
What's that?
It's like, it's crazy out here, and I don't know another group of people that it's a risk just walking down the street. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally like if you're walking down the wrong neighborhood, that can be a problem.
Right.
Like, I don't know anybody else that has to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and for it to be like a battle between who's the most oppressed. First of all, it shouldn't even be a battle, because that's not a badge of honor to wear. Mm-hmm. But then again, on top of that, there's no comparison. There's no comparison of who has been oppressed the longest. And even with the amendments to the Constitution and stuff like that, the amendments add to whatever the Constitution was already laid out, but it doesn't erase it.
Exactly.
Until you overhaul the whole thing, it doesn't mean nothing. Like, we're still basically classified as 3/5 of a person.
Exactly.
Because that whole Constitution is still there. It was never overhauled. It was never completely done over. Mm-hmm. And to this day, it still happens. And to this day, slavery still exists. They call it prison, but it still exists. Anytime you do all this labor for all these multi-billion-dollar companies, and you're getting paid 5 to 10 cents a day, that's slavery. Because what the hell is 5 to 10 cents really going to do?
Exactly.
Even being in prison, what is that really going to do? Because I know damn well the commissary stuff ain't that cheap.
Nope.
So it's like, it don't matter where you at in the system. Essentially, you're going to get fucked.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like you said, and it's all based upon our appearance. Like you said, just in the what was that? What was Ahmad's last name? I forget. Down in
Arbery.
Right. In the wrong neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And look at what happened.
And it's crazy because it was his neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but it was told he was in the wrong neighborhood. He was in the wrong.
That's crazy, man.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, throughout all this though, gotta definitely salute LeBron and some of the players in the NBA, man, for taking a stand and speaking out on this, and even getting the games postponed about this, and trying to postpone the rest of the season. It's unfortunate that unity can't occur, where it's across the board and everybody agrees.
Right. And I'm going to ask you this: how do you feel about that? Because I noticed especially when some people were excited that, hey, look, oh, this is going to be major. Because remember, there were rumors that it was going to happen. Milwaukee's thinking of boycotting. Then Milwaukee went ahead and boycotted. And people was like, yo, this is major. They did it.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends on Facebook, we were going back and forth, but I backed off because I'm like, I don't think he understands what I'm saying. I said, I know you mocked me for boycotting the NFL. And you said it ain't going to make no difference. But now that the NBA players have done it, you're applauding it. And I said, please tell me the difference. Well, because they're hitting the owners in the pocket. You as a fan, you're not hitting the owners. And right now, they're playing without fans. So it is about the players. I said, but correct me if I'm wrong. Where does this revenue come from? How do these players get money? How do these owners become owners?
Mm-hmm.
Fan support, whether it be from apparel to video games to attending these events, advertising dollars, etc. But I understand, there's no fans right now. But at the end of the day, if fans aren't watching that, those advertising dollars are wasted because people aren't going out supporting those businesses that are paying to have their time shown on the games. Mm-hmm. So the ratings drop. So then at that point, salaries are going to decrease. And eventually you bankrupt the system. That was the point of a boycott for the NFL. So like I said, I appreciate what the NBA players are doing or have done. I'll put it in past tense now because it doesn't look like it's ongoing. It looked like it was a one and done deal. But it would still be a larger lasting effect if the fans did it in unison and just say, hey, you put that pressure on them because those owners will feel it. Because right now, these organizations are determining, hey, we're not going to play in front of fans, and it's working. I know that the NFL is even taking that stance. Today it was announced the Eagles aren't allowing fans in the stadium for the rest of 2020. So they're just going to play without fans. But yeah, they're getting by with it. But at the same time, if people aren't putting money into it, like I said, those ways I mentioned, these means of entertainment can no longer exist. See what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, that's true. Because it's like, boycotting NFL, man. I've been on that since I don't even know. It's been a while now, but I never understood why everyone wasn't behind Cap with that and didn't support that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy that you'll get all these people that be getting mad about when these killings happen by the cops and stuff to our brothers and sisters. But then they turned around and still watched the NFL after the NFL whiteballed Kaepernick for protesting because of the police brutality. How does that make sense? How can you be mad but then support a system that didn't really give a damn about it when one of the players tried to bring attention to it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of our people, man, they like so short-sighted because they don't see the bigger picture. And they don't want to unify.
I think it's a discipline, and it's like, unfortunately, people care more, and this is this is where the disconnect is, because entertainment does something to some people. Sports, it must be some type of euphoria because they're like, oh, I can't do without my sports. I remember when we first went down to quarantine, and all these talk radio sports channels, people were going crazy. I got no sports. I don't know how I'm gonna live. I can't see. Or anytime you do bring up social events into sports, oh, they just need to keep it. Sports is sacred. You shouldn't bring that into sports. So it takes precedence over anything in these people's minds. Think back to that movie Django, where they had the wrestlers. Slaves were wrestlers. And it's just like today. What's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio's character. He didn't love his slave. He loved what the slave did as far as bringing money to him by winning. That's the same thing that's going today with fans. I see it all the time with Eagles fans. I've been down to that stadium and let them get some alcohol in them and let one of the wide receivers miss something. All types of racial slurs is coming out their mouth. They don't love the player. They love the team. It's what the team represents. And I think that's where the NFL players are getting it twisted, because you do have some that will sit up there and defend it and be like, no, these people are paying to see us play. No, they are paying to see their team. They want their team to win so that they can feel some type of feeling of, hey, I've accomplished something. My team won. Because that's all some people live by is, my team won 5 championships. And they'll talk about that like it's a personal accomplishment.
Yeah, even though they didn't have a damn thing to do with
it. Exactly. So I think that's what goes on. There's some people's minds, it's like, my team did this, and if my team loses, I'm useless for the week. You've seen it, right? Where a person is a fanatic to the point where they can't function. So somewhere in their brain, this is occurring. This is why they don't have enough discipline to go in there and boycott. Now, mind you, I was a fan of the NFL, and I wouldn't call myself a fanatic, but my Sundays were already, all right, 1 o'clock game, 4 o'clock game, 8:20 game. Boom. That was my Sunday. But guess what? After the 3rd week of boycotting it, I didn't even think of it no more. And I was like, yo, I had so much. I literally had a whole day to myself. And I was like, damn, I got all this time to myself instead of me watching other people's success. You know what I mean? So exactly. I think once people have that discipline, because I know why I'm doing it. That's what made it. I set it as a goal. Like, all right, this is into support Colin Kaepernick, but at the same time, the message that Colin Kaepernick is putting out there. This is why I'm doing this. So just to be a part of that is like, okay, I know that I'm trying. So I know what I'm trying to do for my people at the end of the day. And some people just don't feel like they'll come up with every excuse in the book, because either that, I can't even tell you the last time I bought a Madden game.
Because I can't tell you either.
Yep, that went too with the boycott.
Yeah, because they would still get revenue from it.
Exactly. Anything with that NFL license. At one point, I wanted to buy a Cap jersey, but I said the NFL is getting that money still.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, because you gotta stand up for something. You gotta stand up for stuff that's bigger than yourself.
Most definitely.
And that's the problem. People can't step outside themselves. People like you said. People connect these sports with their own self-worth. So it's like, that's why they be like, my team, we did it.
We won.
Yeah, and I'm like, you didn't do nothing. Like, you just sat there and just watched the game.
Right.
Wearing all this merchandise that you paid this money for your team. But when it comes to just turning the TV off and not spending a dime on anything,
Exactly.
it's like, oh hell no, I'm not doing that. I can't give it up. Okay, so that shows that you're a mental slave, and you have no kind of you know, kind of morals or foundation to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you weak minded. You just
Exactly.
going keep going along just to get along, because I guess it's not affecting you directly, but it actually is if you see the bigger picture. But people don't look beyond themselves. So
And that goes back to what we were saying earlier. That's that point of being stagnant, like you said. People just doing stuff. Hey, you know what? This is what it is. So I'll just continue it. I'm not going to cause no trouble. I'll let it go. But you have to say, you know what? Us as African Americans have to say, we love ourselves to the point where I'm doing this for me, but most importantly, I'm doing it for future generations, so they won't have to go through this. And like I said, sacrifice is needed. And it goes back to last week's show when Wale brought up one thing he hates hearing, and that's where they say, hey, I'm not my ancestors, in a way to demean because of sit-ins where people were taking abuse.
mm-hmm.
But look at the sacrifice they took to put us in a better position.
Mm-hmm.
What sacrifice, what work are we putting in for our future generation?
Exactly. I remember when this the boycott first happened, and I saw that like people wasn't on board with it. I used to say like, yo, if y'all existed back during civil rights, yo, we would still be nowhere. Like, I mean, we still got far way to go, but we would not be where we at today. Like, we would still be stuck back in those times,
Mm-hmm.
because we got no kind of we could not have no bus boycott. We could not have no marches nowhere. The Selma. We could not do any of that. Like, we couldn't have no sit-ins, because somebody will be like, "Oh, I ain't doing it. It don't affect me," or "I can't miss this game." You know what I'm saying? Like, people be on that type of time, and I'm like, y'all tripping for real, because if you're not at a point that you're willing to sacrifice something for the betterment of our community, like, what are you really doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that everybody ain't cut out to do that. So even if you're not on the front line, you should still be supporting in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like show some kind of support, so show some kind of unity. If it's something as simple as just not tuning into the NFL on Sundays, do that.
Right.
You don't have to be out in the front line doing nothing.
Right.
But we still attacking their wallet.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, that's it. And that's exactly why. Hey, let's keep it a buck. That's exactly why when these police murders happen with us, it's like people just like, you know what? I'm sick of it. They go out. Some people deal with that frustration by breaking something, burning the building down, smashing some glasses. You hitting them in their wallet. Mm-hmm. But yet people be like, oh, you see that? That's what really irks them. You're hitting them in their wallet.
Exactly.
It ain't. Where's the outrage for the life? Like you said, we can't get them to feel our pain as far as, hey, do you not see the trauma you just caused for 3 kids? Do you not see the trauma you're setting for all folks that look like him and can relate to him just by viewing it? These public assassinations, hangings, murders, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Like, you're not thinking of all that trauma people are absorbing and just seeing this all the time. You're doing absolutely nothing about it. Agent 45 hasn't even uttered a word about it. Not a word. But yet he held that little punk as a hero. He had nothing but good stuff to say. But my whole point is, it's not until you make their wallets hurt is when they feel pain. And it's always been materialistic with them. That's the difference in cultural mindset, as far as they've always been materialistic. That's why they'll go into places and steal all types of artifacts and art, and then have the nerve to put it on display. Talking about, we discovered this. They've always been obsessed with that. It's always material stuff. But when it comes to intangibles, they'll sit up there and say, oh, look at that. That's a witch doctor. That's that fake mess. So, like I said, that's how I know the essence of where their love is in materials. So once you destroy that material, you've hurt them. You've hurt them where it hurts. So, like I said, if it's by boycotting, boom, you're hitting their wallet. Or if it's by someone has to burn down something to get your attention. Because guess what? People complaining about this shit, you know what would make people not go into a town and destroy it? Not killing somebody, allowing them to go have their day in court.
Exactly. How about
That's
that? Yeah. How about that? How about have one kind of justice system?
Plain
and not have it two ways.
I mean, but the NBA, I respect what LeBron and the Players Association did for that day. I was even surprised that the Phillies didn't play. I think it was the day the Phillies said they weren't going to play.
Yeah, some of the baseball teams, and I think some of the WNBA teams didn't play.
So I'm glad that these people are making steps and strides towards it. But what I don't want it to be is another, like 2 months ago, to where Black Lives Matter was just a trend. I don't just want this to be, oh, this is the trendy thing to do. Where's the meaning behind it? And then what comes out of it with laws?
Exactly.
We need to see what the outcome is. And we just can't do this without there being any type of outcome. We have to have a list of demands to go alongside all of these actions.
Exactly. And this goes back to a few episodes when we were talking about Black is King. What we have to do as African people, we have to get back in touch with the African spiritualism, because that will awaken us and get us back to that, that Ogun, that, that hero, that divinity and the warrior spirit in us to, awaken that side of us to where we want to, we not that we want to, that we have to fight for what is right and what is ours. We have to unite because we know it's in us. We have to awaken that spirit in us, that energy, that frequency, and get on that same wavelength and stay there. People need to research and do that and get back in touch with what our ancestors was doing. Get that inner power and realize who the hell we are, man. We gods, kings and queens out here. Like we can't just sit idly by and expect them to make laws that's gonna protect us. Right. We gotta force that hand to do it, because they're not gonna do it on their own. They'll use some pretty words and throw on the dashiki one day and for a photo op, but they're not really for us until we lean on their neck, literally or figuratively, because they like to do it to our people. R.I.P. George Floyd. You know what I'm saying? We need to be on them and make sure that this stuff gets passed, because it's been going on too long. And the longer that it goes on, the harder it's going to be to change it.
Exactly. And I think we also need to drop that whole, I don't know if it's appropriate to call it a myth, but the whole myth of how do you do away with this? By voting. No, because guess what? You're voting every X amount of years.
Mm-hmm.
Things are happening in real time. We need quick turnaround. Therefore, like you said, you must force their hand.
Mm-hmm.
And if this gets their attention, this is more powerful than any election.
Exactly.
Okay? So you force their hand. You don't sit up there and say, let's wait until November. And hopefully the person that can make a difference gets elected. But we've already seen what happens when you hope somebody gets in there. They don't necessarily do, we were hoping in 2008, right?
Yep.
So 2008 and 2012, it was all about hope. So the things that we hoped for didn't necessarily get done. Therefore, voting is crucial, but it's more or less your local government where you can make some changes that you can see.
Exactly.
But when we're talking of a general election and we're dealing with stuff that's on a national scale, no person who's in office is going to resolve that until you demand it to happen. Because asking them is not going to get it done.
Mm-mm. That's why these other groups thrive, because they go to these candidates, they have an action plan drawn out, they demand their time, and they unify and say, if we don't get this, you don't get our support.
Mm-hmm.
Until we can do that, we have no power. We have no kind of play at the table, because we can't get on one accord to force stuff like that to happen.
Right.
It's other communities do that.
Right.
With no problem. Every time it's a candidate, they put together their action plan. This is what we want. They go to them. They get it because they threaten not to give them their support as a unit, as a whole community.
But what do we have? What organization do we have to where we can go out there and demand that? I can't think of one that comes to mind, which is why we can't sit up and say, hey, voting is key to what we're doing.
Yeah,
What we want to get done.
that's true.
Like you said, they have like NRA. NRA gets things done. They know how to get in people's ears.
Yeah.
I can't think of
through their wallet.
Mm-hmm. We could have HBCUs, but we don't support them.
Yeah.
Then we have our athletes who don't go to our HBCUs to where we can start the foundation, get the ball moving to where those are places of power to where, okay, you can start branching off and having what we need to get this done. If people want to look to sports and entertainment, which I'm always disheartened when it comes to that, because that's the only thing we've ever been allowed to be good at in this country is sports and entertainment. Even when we were shackled, hey, go play me some music, fiddler. Hey, watch this one wrestle. Or this one can dance, this one can sing.
Yeah.
That's always been it. And I think until we no longer lean on that and we can be independent of sports and entertainment and start looking at it from, hey, business side of it, we'll be able to make strides in this country. If we want to even continue to stay in this country at that point. Because then we'll say, hey, look at what we can do on our own.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. And then it's hard because, like, let's say we do get on one accord. Then you got, coons like Stephen A. Smith and Terry Crews. You know what I'm saying? That they'll come along and they'll start talking this BS, like saying that, like Stephen A. Smith saying that Roger Goodell shouldn't be apologizing to Kaepernick. And then you got Terry Crews talking all this stuff that he been talking this year. And I'm like, with people like them, we never really gonna get taken seriously because they got this platform,
right?
And they're looking at them like you mentioned before as the exception, and like not seeing that exception is the minority, but people look at the exception as that's the only possibility, and everybody should be able to do. No, everybody's not like them. Everybody's not neutered boys because they're not men. They're not acting like men. They ain't got no balls. And
but bro, it's by design. It's by design. These people are put there. It ain't by chance. This is what they want there. These people that have that machine backing them, there's a reason the machine's backing them.
Yeah, it's all about that bag.
Yep. And they know what message this type of person will put out there. You know what? Give them that money. We'll get it back. We'll get it back and more. Give them that. He's going to do our dirty work.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, goddamn Herschel Walker.
Let me get me started on him.
Yo, oh my God. What did Tariq Nasheed, what he said? He said he gonna get a good helping of butter biscuits. I was like, he was kissing Donald Trump ass so crazy. I'm like, yo.
Man, his son.
Oh my God.
I mean, I can't whoop his ass, so I would have to shoot him.
Yeah, he do like MMA shit. He's still like he's still ripped like crazy, like
50-something old man. But it's funny how that type of person will go to bat. And like I said, I know the upbringing. I don't know, but what I mean by I know is I'm pretty sure his upbringing was that of most NFL players, where they grew up in some hard times and they got to see what it was like to, strive and make it in life. But somewhere, something happened to where they forgot all about that past life. And going back to what we originally were talking about with evolving, a person can evolve, but it doesn't mean that they forget their roots.
Exactly.
You still need to have that foundation. And for these people to betray their ground, their foundation, just to satisfy massa at the end of the day. Just to say, hey, you see, I'm doing what you want me to do. You like that? And that's what it boils down to. It's like these people they're not all there, man. They ain't all there. Maybe he's had too many concussions. Maybe he got that CTE. Maybe that's what's going on. He did football. He might have survived it, but not MMA. People going upside his head.
I don't know. Maybe he loved them butter biscuits. And maybe, I don't know, maybe he bought it the We Sick Master Coalition.
I'm telling you.
Or something. But what you said is true, because it's like, I know for a fact at my job, I have a ceiling that I can't get past because even though I've evolved in life, I don't sacrifice who I am and where I came from. So I know me being who I am, and I might be stubborn or whatever, because I'm refusing to kowtow to all the BS politics, but I can't do it. I can't do that and then be able to still look at myself in the mirror.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So I know for a fact that in the corporate world, I'm only going to get but so far because I'm not the moldable kind of person that they want when they see somebody of our, African descent. They want somebody that's moldable, that's gonna change up their voice when they're talking to them. I don't change my voice when I talk to nobody. How I'm talking right now is how I talk when I'm at work. Everything, like, I don't change my voice up. I'm just not going to do it because it would be fraudulent for me to even have to do that. Why should I have to do that and not have my work, speak for itself?
Right.
Why do I have to change who I am? And I can't do it. So, like, the coons or whatever, they willing to change up or whatever, or they might not even be changing up. They might just be who they are, and they're just showing it to the world now because they got their money. But I can't do it. I just can't do it. Like, it's not me. If somebody ever saw me acting weird like that, acting beside myself, they got me with like the MK Ultra or something like that. Like, I got brainwashed or something, man.
Right, get out. But that, even when people betray themselves, so to speak, it don't work out for them. Look at what happened with Candace Owens in this RNC convention.
Yeah, she got left out. She got that's what she get though. She was going hard with the white supremacist speaking points. She was going hard with it, and they was like, "Nah, we don't need your black ass."
Exactly. She got her wake up call, like Paul Mooney would say.
Yeah.
Yep.
She on the Omarosa side of the game now. She gonna be trying to beg to come back.
Yep.
Like, nah, we don't want you back. Stay over there. Nah, man, but this is crazy, man. This country, like, you would have thought, like, with a pandemic going on, that things would ease up a little bit. But it's like, yo, even a pandemic ain't stronger than racism.
That's true.
It's crazy, man. I don't know, man. But go back to the original topic. Comes down to evolution. Like, evolution itself leads to evolution of society and the bigger picture. So it all comes down to, when is everybody going to evolve? When is the world going to evolve? When is society going to evolve?
I have a question.
Because that's a good question for the viewers. Think about that. When are you going to evolve? Or if you have evolved, did you really take a clear, full look at yourself and make some true changes? And not just changes for yourself, but changes that can impact those around you in our community. So on that note, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Liberated Mind Show. That's Kay. I'm James. We'll see you next episode. Peace.
Hello everyone, I'm Brittany, aka Color BB. So I just am excited to let everybody know that my wig custom color line launches within 24 hours, less than. I'm super excited and blessed for it. We're starting off with 5 wigs, all custom color, different lengths, from 16 to 20 to 24. This is just a short little video just saying what everything is about, because I know people might have a lot of questions. So some colors I'm just doing because I love coloring and I know the style and trends that are out today. And I'm also doing custom colors for people that request, which are different price ranges for things. So everybody will know once you contact me, the best way to contact me is through email or DM. It might be a little slower, so email is like the best way to contact me. I will also have my website up in a few weeks. So I'm just starting off with a little bit to sell for you guys to see what it does, and then we'll go from there. So let me show you one of the wigs and let you know they're full lace, 100% human wig. Let me get her wig. Hold on. So if you see the inside, it's full lace, clips. So a lot of people were asking me, is it glueless? Yes, it is, and you can glue it as well. So for some people that like to keep it intact, or some people like to pull it on, pull it off. So this is just a review for people to know, because I know when people drop things and start a brand, a lot of people have a lot of questions and they're not sure what is going on. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone and let you know that I'm doing all custom colors, all different types of lengths, all different types of styles. So every week you'll see something different. For now, I just want to give you what I've been working on for the past year and a half. Truly blessed and happy for it. I'm a working mom, entrepreneur, so for me this is very important for my family and for just to inspire other moms that are doing their thing and still being, well, mom is not a job, it's just what you do, but everything else that comes with it, besides being a mom first. So I hope you guys enjoy and love it, and can't wait to see these orders, because you know with these hands I'm great with my colors. So I'll check in with you guys soon and you'll see my debut in a couple of hours. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Under so much pressure, held to a standard impossible to measure. Without guidance, they suffer. No father in sight, no love from their mother. Not the pen for the one in the mirror. Self-image distorted, can't get no clearer. Damn, lost souls devoured by the streets. Ain't no fairy tales on yellow bricks. By their feet, only cracked vials and shell casings. Looking for hope, but